What's happening? Thanks for joining me on this Friday. It is very much appreciated. Everything Pat's a New England Patriots podcast. Love all of you that decide to join the show, spend time, invest in this show. Again, it is very, very much appreciated. Let's talk about Drake Maye today. I want to talk about Drake Maye and his ceiling. Now, we all know what a ceiling is when we talk about players. I'm talking about the absolute best possible scenario for Drake Maye. What is his ceiling in the NFL in 2025? If you were going to look at all the quarterbacks starting this season, 1 through 32, where would you put Drake Maye? Where do you think his ceiling is? Is it top 5? Is it top 10? Is it somewhere 10 to 15? Is it lower? That's the question I am going to answer today. There are 2 Drake Maye camps. Talking to a lot of fans and listeners and fans of the Patriots, not necessarily fans of me, but talking to a lot of the Patreon members and radio listeners and podcast listeners and viewers and all of you out there that have gone back and forth with me throughout the last several months, I would say there are 2 Drake Maye camps right now. There is one Drake Maye camp that says he needs to show more. Still not sure what he is. Can't tell you with complete conviction that he is going to be a franchise quarterback for the Patriots. There's another camp that says, I saw enough in 2024. The circumstances that he had to deal with, the fact that he showed those flashes, I have confidence that Drake Maye is going to be the franchise quarterback for the Patriots for the next 10 to 15 years. It seems those are the 2 camps right now when we discuss Maye and his potential moving into the future. ESPN's Ben Solak recently wrote about Drake Maye's 2024 the following. Here's something I struggle to put into words. Yes, always good to write that sentence just before publishing something. Jaden Daniels had a historically productive rookie quarterback season. The Commanders' fan base and team brass should feel confident and inspired about the future of the position. However, I'm still as, if not more, impressed by how well Maye played on that terrible Patriots offense last season. Statistically, he didn't hold the candle, but the degree of difficulty, Maye was playing a completely different sport. I'll put it this way and hope Metropolitan DC doesn't come for my head. Patriots fans should feel as confident and inspired about their future at quarterback as Commanders fans do right now. I believe Drake Maye's ceiling for 2025, I believe his ceiling is a range between 8 and 12, somewhere around that range. And I would likely expect him to fall into the 10 to 12 range instead of the 8 to 10 range. And yeah, it's splitting hairs if you look at it in that way, but I'll go through why I think Drake Maye's ceiling is as high as 8 and as quote unquote low as 12. I think his ceiling is right about in that area. The offensive line has upgraded. Now, I have questions about the offensive line. I don't think that it's a guarantee that the offensive line is going to be great. I'm not even sure it's a guarantee that the Patriots offensive line is going to be very good. There are questions with Will Campbell. There are questions about who's going to play left guard. I've gone through those various podcasts over the past few weeks. I went through that with Andrew Callahan on Memorial Day on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The offensive line has some questions, but I don't think there's much question of whether or not the offensive line on paper is better right now than it was in 2024. And if you have a better offensive line, you're going to give up less pressure. And if you give up less pressure, the quarterback should theoretically make less mistakes. So the upgraded offensive line makes me feel like that will give Drake Maye more opportunity without having to worry about running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Better offensive line, less pressure, less mistakes. Then I want to look at Mac Jones's 2021, and I'm sorry to bring up the name, but he's the last first-round pick, the most recent first-round pick aside from Drake Maye that was used on a quarterback here in New England, and he was supposed to be the franchise quarterback for the next 10, 12, 15 years. And I look at Mac Jones's 2021. Why do I look at his 2021? All of you know why I do that, because Josh McDaniels was his offensive coordinator. Mac Jones in 2021, with his limited skill set, we all know that he was not a raw talent. He was a quarterback that was a distributor. He was somebody who needed a lot of help around him, needed help from the offensive line, needed a good offensive coordinator. Mac Jones in 2021 completed 67.6% of his passes. That's a great number. He threw for 3,800 yards, had 22 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. That is Mac Jones with his limited skill set, with a bunch of new pieces around him, working with a pretty good, okay offensive line, and Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator. If Josh McDaniels can get Mac Jones to complete 67.6% of his passes, throw for almost 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, if McDaniels can get those numbers from Mac Jones with that limited skill set, with all those new pieces, I think McDaniels could get more than that from Drake Maye. I don't think it's crazy to believe that Drake Maye's 2025 is going to end up being better than Mac's 2021 because of the skill set, because of the players that are around Drake Maye. I expect Drake Maye to put up better numbers this season than we saw during Mac's rookie season. Then I get to the fact that this is year 2 for Drake Maye. When we compare 2021 and Mac Jones and what he did to what Drake Maye could do this year, we all understand that Mac's rookie season was 21, and now we're talking about Maye's second season. And when you are in your second season, you should be acclimating to the NFL game at a higher level. Drake Maye should absolutely understand the speed of the game now. He should understand how fast NFL defenses are and how fast they are downhill and how they attack. He should understand and be used to the speed of the game. He should also, in year 2, be ready for some of the mind games that are played. Maye should be more prepared for defensive schemes. He should understand simulated pressures better than he did in his rookie season. He should understand what certain defenses like to do, especially in the division. He should know what the Dolphins like to do, what the Bills like to do. Less so with the Jets because obviously they have a new regime going on. But if you look at Miami, you look at Buffalo, that's 4 games against teams that you've played, and he should be more prepared, more ready for what is thrown at him by those defensive coordinators. And he should be more prepared for all of the schemes that he's going to see in 2025. It brings me back to Tom Brady. Tom Brady, a long time ago, said the more that he played, he felt like he had the answers to the tests. Remember that quote? Drake Maye certainly doesn't have all the answers to the tests, but Drake Maye does have more answers to the test than he had last season, going from year 1 to year 2. So he should be more prepared for schemes. He should be more prepared for the post-snap games that defensive coordinators play. And he, with this better offensive line and Josh McDaniels' history and his recent history with young quarterbacks, we should absolutely expect a bump from Maye. Now, I don't think it's going to be a huge bump like Josh Allen had in year 3. Allen had a down rookie season, completion percentage. I believe he had more interceptions and touchdowns. He had the bump in year 2, played much better in year 2, and then year 3, he was off to the races. So if I look at Maye, I should expect him to be better. And I do expect him to be better. I do expect him to get a bump naturally from his own skill, from his own understanding of the level of play that he's in now. All right, I have more thoughts about Drake Maye and why I feel like his ceiling in 2025 is a top 12 quarterback, anywhere from 8 to 12. That's where I would put him. It's all on paper. It's a prediction. It's not a guarantee. It's not a spoiler. It's where would I put Drake Maye right now and say, this is where I think he will be at the end of this season. I think he will be a top 8 to 12 quarterback. I don't think he would be in the top 5. I think that's asking way too much of him. And I think, expecting him to be in the top 10 is much more difficult than even saying somewhere around 12, even though there's a couple of spots. Numerically, it's a couple of spots, but when you look at the level of quarterback, it changes like that. The 10th best quarterback in the NFL versus the 15th best quarterback in the NFL, you might be surprised how wide of a gap there is between those two players. So numerically, not a huge gap, but a pretty decent gap when you look at the actual player and the talent level. Before I get some more on Maye's ceiling in 2025, don't forget to click that thumbs up as you watch us. This is obviously the dead part of the season. We're past Memorial Day, getting ready for training camp, which will be happening in late July. I'm even doing 3 shows a week starting next week for Locked On Patriots, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I'll be doing those shows for Locked On, and I'll be doing that until July 14th. And then there's about a week or so from July 14th until the beginning of training camp. So this is the dead time. The way you can help us out here and put the product out there for us is by liking, clicking that thumbs up as you watch the live stream or you watch us on demand here on YouTube. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to throw comments in. What is your ceiling for Drake Maye in 2025? I ask you, what do you think is his ceiling this season? Throw the comments in. And don't forget to subscribe, Spotify, Apple Pods, friends. I appreciate every single one of you. Rate, review, and follow. Another reason why I believe Maye can take a step into the top 8 to 12 quarterbacks in the league. Another reason why I believe he can take that step and will take that step this year is because of the wide receivers he has. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that the Patriots have a great wide receiver room. They don't. We have to see how it all unfolds with some of the younger guys. But what I am here to tell you is that I believe with every fiber of my being, that wide receiver room right now that they have at Gillette is better than the wide receiver room they had in 2024. They have wide receivers that can actually separate from coverage. Stefon Diggs can separate from cornerbacks. Kyle Williams can separate from cornerbacks. Pop Douglas can separate from cornerbacks. And that has been a major issue for the last number of years here with the Patriots. But when you have receivers that can separate and separate quickly, it just makes life so much easier for the quarterback. He can get rid of the football quickly, complete the pass, and move on to the next play. He doesn't have to hold on to the football. And when you think about what's been happening with the Patriots over the past couple of years, it's been the perfect storm offensively because the offensive line wasn't very good, so they weren't able to hold their pass protection for very long. Meanwhile, you didn't have receivers that could consistently get open and separate from corners. So when you marry that, it's a nightmare for the quarterback because he's got to hold on to the football, waiting for his receivers to come open. And while he's holding on to the football, the offensive line is a sieve. And now he's got pass rushers running after him all day. So better offensive line plus receivers that can do a better job of separating from cornerbacks quickly should make life much easier for Maye this year. And if the receivers don't get separation quickly, guess what? You can scheme that up. I know we didn't see much of it last season, but you can scheme players open. And Josh McDaniels will be able to create separation with his scheme. So you've got some natural separators on this roster at receiver, and you've got an offensive coordinator who has proven time and time again that he can scheme guys open. He can help them get separation. And so all of that, you combine all of that, and life should be easier for Maye. You know what else helps a quarterback? Run game. And I went through Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel's history a few weeks ago, and the conclusion was that expect the Patriots to run the football a lot. Mike Vrabel, as head coach, his teams have run the football a lot. McDaniels, historically, as an OC, here in New England and even in Vegas, run the football a lot. And even when those teams weren't necessarily great, even when those teams were not, necessarily great at running the ball, yards per carry wise, you still had McDaniels and Vrabel run the football a lot. And if you can run the football a lot and you can run the football successfully, that helps the quarterback. McDaniels has a long history of success running the football. And then you add Travion Henderson, who should absolutely help this offense. His explosivity is something that is just different. We have not seen a running back with that type of explosivity in a long time. And so when you start to look at these pieces and you put them all together, this is why Drake Maye's ceiling should be, to me, somewhere in that 8 to 12 region. That's the range for me. The offensive line upgrades, the OC, the wide receivers, the run game, the commitment to the run game that you're going to get from McDaniels and Vrabel. And then you get to the intangibles, because we can sit here and we could talk about everything we've talked about so far, the talent, skill position plays, all that stuff. But it also comes down to the quarterback himself. You see, some quarterbacks have raw talent, but they're never able to apply that talent and get the most out of their potential. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Sometimes guys don't have the work ethic. Do you think Maye has the work ethic? I do. Everything I've read, everything I've seen, everything I've heard tells me that Maye has a tremendous work ethic. You also can look at, football IQ and everything that we have seen. Everything that we have seen from Maye would tell us that he has a relatively high football IQ. So work ethic, football IQ, those things to go along with the raw talent should help Maye get that bump in year 2. He's young, 21, 22 years old. He's very, very young. And so when you have that raw talent, but the in between the ears stuff develops, matures, improves, when that happens and you have that combination, that's why you see players take the year jump, the year 2 jump, or the year 3 jump. That's why you see that happen. And Maye has those intangibles: the work ethic, the football IQ, the desire to just get better. That's what he has by all accounts. So let's look at quarterbacks, and let's go through the quarterbacks according to Pro Football Focus. Let's go through their ranks. I just gave you the background as to why I think individually in a vacuum, Maye should be a top 8 to 12 quarterback in 2025. That to me is his ceiling. Let's look at some of these rankings. It's actually not from Pro Football Focus. It's from NFL.com. NFL.com in 2024. Here were their quarterback rankings from number 8 through number 12. And you tell me if you think whether or not Maye can sneak in somewhere amongst these names. The 8th best quarterback in the league last year, according to NFL.com, was Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is 8. Jalen Hurts was 9th. Jordan Love was 10th. Justin Herbert was 11th. And Geno Smith was 12th. I think it's reasonable. If we're talking about Maye's ceiling, it's not a guarantee that he's going to land among those names, but I think it's absolutely reasonable to look at Hurts and Love and Herbert and Smith and say, with the work ethic, with the football IQ, with the better talent around him, with one of the best offensive coordinators in football, it's absolutely, to me, reasonable to believe that Maye could end up among those names by the end of 2025. It would not shock me if he's up there with Jalen Hurts. It would not shock me if he's up there with Jordan Love or Justin Herbert or Geno Smith. And of course, some of these guys might slide back. Younger guys might, jump up and towards the front of the line. But I think it's completely reasonable to have Maye at the end of this year be in that group of quarterbacks. We're not talking about the upper echelon. We're not talking about the cream of the crop. We're talking about the most likely third tier of quarterbacks. And I think that's his ceiling for 2025. I think he can get there. Now, where did NFL.com have Maye ranked last year? Maye was ranked as the 21st quarterback overall. So number 21 out of 32. That's where Maye fell last season. To expect him to jump 9 or 10 spots, given the circumstances this year versus what he went through last year as a rookie, I think that's reasonable. I think that's reasonable. He might be closer from, 10 to 12, but if all things go right, he should be right in that group. He should be right along the Jordan Loves and Geno Smiths of the world. That's the caliber of quarterback at the end of his second season that I think would best represent Maye's ceiling this year. And then you hope he goes from, what he was in 2025 and takes another jump, and that's when you make the big leap. 2026, if all things go according to the plan, 2026 should be the year that we're talking about Drake Maye being a top 5 quarterback or just outside the top 5. If the plan goes perfectly, that's what you're looking at. Some rough edges around the rookie season, some questions coming out of his rookie campaign, things that he has to work on, things he's got to improve. And then you get to the second season. If you can get somewhere between that 8 to 12 range by the end of the year, then you start looking forward and say, okay, year 3 should be the big bump. And if year 3 is the big bump, that's how he gets into the top 5 or close to the top 5. And by the end of 2026, you would say he's either a top 5 quarterback or he's knocking on that door. That's the progression. That's the trajectory that you want to see Drake Maye take. You can live with the questions. You can live with some of the things that we saw last year because it's his rookie season. But you expect that he gets better. And you expect that he gets better, especially with the team that he has this year versus last. So that's the trajectory that you want. All right, got a couple of super chats here. Mr. Snoopy jumps in and says, trade with Atlanta. Hopper and a 4th. I'm guessing you meant Austin Hooper. Hooper and a 4th for Kyle Pitts. I don't know what to think about Kyle Pitts. I loved him coming out of college. I thought he was going to be a stud. And man, oh man. I mean, he just has not been the guy that I thought he was going to be. He gets drafted in 2021. And he ends up with a 1,000-yard season, just under 70 catches with 68. He only had 1 touchdown, by the way. 1 touchdown his rookie season. I remember that. That was like a big story. When is he going to get in the end zone? But, in 2021, he has a good year. He made the Pro Bowl. I don't remember if that was like a 3rd alternate, 5th. I don't remember the specific designation of the Pro Bowl for Kyle Pitts. But I had very, very high expectations for Pitts when it was draft time. I thought he was going to be a bona fide stud. He's never been a bona fide stud. He had that rookie season that was good. Then he only played 10 games in his second year. In the last 2 years, he's been fine. I mean, he hasn't really been much of a difference maker. He's given you what you would expect really from a Hunter Henry or even an Austin Hooper. I mean, when you look at it, the last 2 seasons, 53 catches in 2023, 47 catches in 2024. Neither of those seasons did he break 700 yards receiving. He only has 10 total touchdowns in his NFL career, 10 touchdown receptions in 4 seasons. So he averages just over 2 touchdown catches a year. Now, of course, the question is, what do you think you could get from Kyle Pitts? Do you think he's been misused? Do you think that Josh McDaniels could get more out of Pitts? You'd be banking on potential. But the issue is he's been in the league already for 4 years. So it feels like he is what he is. Now, it's not to say that it's impossible to, play better and that he could improve. He could certainly still improve. But 4 years in, he's been a good tight end, an okay tight end. Certainly has not come close to the potential that I and many others thought that he had. And, he's got the club option. He's got that 5th-year option on his rookie contract. And, that would be $10.8 million, $10.9 million. If Josh McDaniels felt like he could get a heck of a lot more from Kyle Pitts, and he goes and he stands on the table and says, we can make this guy an 80-catch guy, then I would think about trading a 4th-round pick. I don't even know if you have to trade Austin Hooper in a 4th. I think you could. I don't know what Atlanta would want, but I'm not giving up much for Kyle Pitts right now. If McDaniels believes that he can get, the rookie season Kyle Pitts and then some, and he has a specific plan how to use Pitts, and he sells me, if my offensive coordinator sells me on the idea that he can get a heck of a lot more from Pitts, and you've got 2 4th-round picks next year, I believe, right? You got the one in the Kansas City trade in this last draft, so I think you have 2 4th-round picks next year. If McDaniels is standing on the table, I would make a deal, and I would say, all right, 4th-round pick. But, I know if you bring Pitts in, then you might not need Hooper. I wouldn't have urgency. If McDaniels tries to sell me and he can sell me, I'd be open to it, but I wouldn't be going bananas. Pat's Rap Podcast, $5 super chat. Thank you, Mr. Snoopy, for the $2 super chat. I like Maye, but some parts about his mechanics, throwing motion, footwork, not selling the play action fully, makes me wonder if he works on his game. Well, I would say that by all accounts, he works on his game. I have not read that he doesn't work on his game. Everything that I've read, everything that I've heard, everybody that I've talked to, they say that he works. He works hard. So I wouldn't say that, some of the mechanical stuff, sometimes your mechanics are off. It doesn't have to be about your work ethic. It just has to be what you grew up. Think about it. As far as his throwing motion, that's been his throwing motion for a long time. Some guys can never break it. Will he be able to break it? Maybe. His footwork, depending on who you talk to, some say that his footwork got better last year. Some say that it didn't get much better at all. Some say it was tough to truly evaluate that because the offensive line was so bad. But everything I've read, everything I've heard, everybody I talked to says that Drake Maye works hard. Terry with the $20 super chat. Thank you, Terry. Waiting for 7/14. Well, the training camp should be later than 7/14. 7/14 is when I go back to doing 5 days a week at Lockdown. If that's what you're excited about, cool. Glad you're excited about it. But the training camp will probably be a week or two later than that. It's usually somewhere around July 21st, July 22nd, somewhere in that range. But have a great weekend as well, Terry. Can't say enough about your generosity and your support. Thank you for the $20 super chat. 3D Pool Tile, $2 super chat. Thank you, 3D. I appreciate you. So Drake Maye. I've got Drake Maye somewhere from 8 to 12 in the NFL as his ceiling by the end of 2025. And then if that happens, if he makes that next step, we will all be excited. We will all be very excited about his potential in 2026 and what kind of level can he reach at that point. Would it be Josh Allen-esque? If it is, you get yourself a special quarterback. Everybody have a great weekend. Be safe. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Spotify, Apple Pods, rate, review, and follow. Be safe out there this weekend. We're back on Monday at 3 o'clock live. Until then, be well. I appreciate every single one of you.